ask questions. Hello and welcome to the Offshoot. I'm the host, Sean Nelson. Today we're talking about forgiveness, or should I say, not forgiving. Have you been harmed by someone and felt the need or the pressure to forgive that person, but in the end, you felt like, that wasn't quite what I wanted to do? Well, we are going to discuss that today with Dr. Yve Michaels. She is a public personality. She is an author. She has her own media company called Gold Standard Media. And she's here today on the Offshoot to talk about not forgiving. Dr. Michaels, welcome to the Offshoot.
Hey, hi, how are you? Thank you for having me.
So thank you for gracing me and us with your time and your expertise. So let's jump right into this. We all grew up, for the most part, being taught that forgive and forget. And that's not a bad thing. I don't think it's a bad thing. So what are your thoughts on forgiving and what does it mean to forgive and forget? And what is the definition of forgiveness?
Okay, so where would you like me to begin?
Let's start with defining forgiveness.
Forgiveness is the ability to let go of anger, let go
Hmm.
of resentment, let go of anxiety, let go of malice, the need for revenge. Okay. Forgiveness for me is the ability to no longer be triggered by you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that something that you think has benefited people for the most part when they've been, like, when they experienced something where they felt like they were betrayed by, say, a friend or a family member or even something on the job?
Okay.
And having that definition of forgiveness, has that always, you think, for most of us, been the right thing to do is to forgive the perpetrator?
Well, I'm going to tell you like this story time. There was a situation, if I may.
Mhm.
I'm a pastor as well. And oftentimes, those who are in my profession and calling in life are
Mhm.
expected to let go and forget. There's a difference between forgiveness and forgetfulness,
Okay.
right?
Mhm.
And I had a situation where I was asked to do a favor. And that favor consisted of me flying out of the country with my husband for days on a speaking engagement. The terms were not outlined. We had a mutual understanding, at least that's what I thought. And that understanding was negated at the end.
Mm.
We spent thousands of dollars to go there and assist. There was no transparency. I was expected to do some things that even compromised my core beliefs and
Mhm.
values, and there was no regard for me or my investment. Well, fast forward, the individual and I, after confrontation, because I can be a little confrontational, you know,
Yeah.
um, I had to fight for my rights, right?
Yeah.
And and it wasn't widely accepted. Well, one of my mentors at the time says, "I need you to let that go."
Mm. And that was the forgiveness part. Okay, but not.
I said to her, she says, and I'm not excusing anything that was done to you. I'm not excusing this whole hurrah,
Yeah.
but I need you to let that go.
That made you feel a certain way.
I still feel a certain way.
Oh, wow.
I do. Because while I'm not angry
Hmm.
anymore and I no longer want to be indignant or get revenge
Hmm.
or go live, while I don't want to do those things, I remember how you betrayed me
Mm, yeah.
and you used me and you took advantage of me. And the expectation, because I am a woman of God,
Hmm.
is for me to turn the other cheek. Well, I don't have any more cheeks to turn. So now what do I give you?
Yeah.
You understand? I think sometimes, I can't, and here's what I always say: forgive, let go of the resentment, the anger,
Hmm.
the stress of it, the trigger behind it,
Hmm.
right? If I hold on to you and how I feel about you, every time I see you, I'm going to be triggered.
Yeah.
But if I let it go and say, you know what, I'm going to let go and let God, I'm going to let the fact go that I'm going to let the part of me that wants to get revenge, I'm going to let her go.
Yeah.
I'm going to let the part of me that's angry and would like to cuss you out, I'm going to let her go. Right?
Which is not easy to do for a lot of us.
I am going to let the part of me that would be seen as irate and out of character.
Hmm.
I'm letting that go. But what I'm not going to let go is the memory of what you did.
Yeah.
Because if I let the memory go, I'll leave an open door for you to come back and do it again.
Yeah.
And I think what most people look for us to do is not set boundaries. I believe in forgiveness wholeheartedly,
Yeah.
but I don't believe in stupidity.
Yeah. So why do we feel the pressure, the need to forgive? Where does that come from despite transgressions or somebody crossing a boundary like in your experience? So why do we feel that pressure to forgive, especially when it comes from other people to say you need to let that go? Does this come from religion?
It come To be honest, you want
Uh-huh.
my honest belief?
Yeah.
It comes from our ancestors being slaves,
Hmm.
which in turn was imposed on us through religion,
Yeah.
and now pushed in a culture for us to continue being enslaved.
Yeah.
That's my belief.
No, I hear you 100%, because I do believe in inherited trauma and we've been told to forgive, 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 but that forgiveness, has it brought us any closer to complete healing? I don't know.
No,
So
because
with
we haven't been taught how to properly
Mhm.
forgive.
Okay.
People, when they say forgive, what they're really saying is forget about it.
Yeah.
They're not saying let go of the trigger.
Hmm.
They're not saying get to the root of what makes you sad, angry, weary, or
Yeah.
downtrodden. They're saying let it go and make sure that you're in a position where you don't look bad or make them look bad.
Yeah.
You know,
Hmm.
unfortunately, that's not okay.
Yeah.
We're teaching people not to set boundaries.
I think that's very true. So with that being said, then could it also not be self-healing to not forgive in some situations or in most situations?
Forgiveness is healing because you're letting the negative part of the experience go. And when I say letting it go, I'm not saying detach from it so much that you allow the other person
Hmm.
to continuously abuse their place in your life.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. I'm saying release yourself from the emotion of that,
Yeah.
from the trauma of that, from the spiritual bondage of that. That's what I'm saying, from the mental anguish of it. I think, again, a lot of times people often misconstrue forgiveness with forgetfulness. There's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with my memory.
So then what about that triggering part then? So should one forgive in a sense that they get to the point where they're not triggered if something causes them to go back into that place where they felt betrayed or felt hurt or felt pain? Um,
Well, triggers stem from unresolved trauma. I believe that there has to be some resolve.
yeah.
Sometimes the resolve comes from within, and
Hmm.
sometimes it comes from without, right?
Okay.
And many times there are instances where we look for resolve, but in ways that are unhealthy.
Mm.
We look for resolve via confrontation, negative confrontation,
Yeah.
right? We look for resolve in revenge. We look for resolve in others, and and finding allies, right?
Mhm.
Sometimes we just have to deal with what's on the inside of us.
Yeah.
That number one would even allow us to be put in a situation to
Yeah.
be betrayed, to be taken advantage of, to
Hmm.
be hurt. And most of the time it's the same thing over and over. There are cycles, years of cycles.
Yeah.
There are years of cycles because there are years of unresolved trauma. Let's get to the root.
Yeah.
Because if I got to the root and I healed the part of me that was initially traumatized
Hmm.
or violated, if I healed the initial violation, right, I would see it coming the next time.
Hmm.
And it would no longer, that violation would no longer be friends or familiar to me.
Yeah.
And part of the reason why many people continuously go through things is because they become familiar and friendly with their violators and the violations.
Mm.
So in turn, you have trauma after trauma after trauma after trauma that has never been resolved. And therefore, you keep an open door for things happening to you. And then you want, in turn, forgiveness is not for the other person,
Yeah.
for me.
Well, I agree with that, and that's why I bring up the notion of not forgiving, because not forgiving isn't is basically saying, like we were saying, is for if is you forgiving yourself for your role in whatever, if you will. I think of examples of friends, for example, and I had to do this myself some years ago, where I had to end a friendship of 20 years because of what this friend had done. And I thought, okay, and I tried to process it, for a long time. I even went to therapy, try to process it and to deal with what I was feeling in the triggers and the trauma, if you will. And what I came away with was, okay, if I'm going to heal from this, then I need to um, not forgive that person, but forgive myself. Does that make any sense?
It does make
Yeah.
sense. And here's the thing, and I still say, I don't let anybody off the hook.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Don't let them off the hook. Don't let them off the hook. And here's what I mean by that. Set boundaries.
Hmm.
Set necessary boundaries. You don't deserve a place in my life.
Yeah.
That's not me not forgiving you. That's me having enough sense to know that if you stay in my life, this relationship could be very volatile.
Yeah.
Right? This means that I do forgive what you did because I got to let that part of me go. I don't want to be angry. I don't want to be
Okay.
resentful. I don't want to be hurt. I don't want to lash out. Every time I see you, I don't want to be triggered by you. Because
Yeah.
if I'm triggered, we might have a problem.
Which
Right?
which means you haven't been healed if you still get
Correct.
triggered. Yeah.
But for me, I have to say, you know what? You got it. You got that, but you
Hmm.
don't got me.
Yeah.
So I remove myself from a situation forever. I put that boundary there. I put that barricade there. I put that door there that you can never cross again or
Mm.
open again. That's not unforgiveness.
Yeah.
That's setting boundaries for me. That's put myself in a position where I can properly heal,
Hmm.
but excuse myself from violators and violations.
So those are action steps that one can take to
Absolutely.
forgive themselves and forget about that other individual, or forget about that boss at the company you used to work for, or forget about what happened when you were 12 years old, or what have you.
I don't know if you'll ever forget unless you have amnesia. We
Yeah.
don't forget our experiences. Our experience help us become wiser,
Hmm.
stronger, more courageous. You know, our experience help us grow. Experience brings growth.
Yeah.
It fosters growth. I don't ever want to lose the memory of it. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I don't agree with that.
Yeah.
But what I do want to do is lose the trauma that I've experienced, or the feeling or the after effects of the trauma
Hmm.
that I took on in that situation or in that relationship or in that place. You know? Example.
Okay.
Many people talk about church hurt.
Yes.
I can talk about that because I'm a pastor.
Hmm.
I'm sure there are some people that I've had encounters with that probably can't stand me today. Do I say hate me every time you see me? You want to, because you never know how deep unforgiveness runs.
Yeah.
Unforgiveness produces anger, malice, resentment, and revenge,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
Forgiveness promotes growth, healing, and prosperity. When I hold on to you who
Hmm.
have wronged me or I felt wronged me,
Hmm.
because sometimes people don't know, right? They just don't. They're ignorant. If I hold on to that, the feeling and the passion, the intensity behind what I believe you did,
Yeah.
I hurt you. But
So,
if I let that go, I can say, you know what? Hmm. I remember when I used to see you and I thought I would run you over. But today I look at you and I say, wow, I'm glad I'm no longer there.
I'm seeing what you're saying now because that's a space and a place one wants to be when say they come across that kind of individual and there's sympathy, maybe not empathy, but the sympathy is for that individual that crossed them the wrong way, which I guess is a sign of healing because you're like, you know what, you don't bother me anymore. You
You
know,
ain't worth, you're
yeah,
not worth my energy.
yeah,
That part of me takes a lot of energy. It takes a lot of energy for me to get mad, right?
yeah,
It takes a lot of my creativity, the thing that makes me who I am, for me to get angry or remain angry with you.
yeah,
Why do I want to deplete and diminish who I am just to hold on to a part of you that is worthless in my life?
yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
I do. Yeah,
Church.
yeah.
A lot of people today don't go to church because they've been hurt, right? In a
That's
building by a
true.
specific individual. But
Yes.
it wasn't the whole church.
Yeah.
It wasn't the entire religion. It wasn't God. It was a person. But because I felt violated in a moment, I've
Hmm.
decided I'm going to hold on to that anger. I'm going to hold on to the pain. I'm going to hold on to the experience, the negativity, uh, the passion behind what I felt for that one individual. And
Hmm.
as a matter of fact, I stay dead the whole thing. I'm not praying. I'm not going to church. I'm not doing any of it.
Yeah.
Why? Because you hurt me.
And that seems to be widespread. But let me ask you this. Do you think by holding on to that negative energy, it can manifest into physical ailments?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Anger brings on stress. Hurt brings on depression. Depression leads into physical deterioration.
Mm, yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Everything has a root. And so if I hold on to the root of something, all it's going to do is grow
Yeah.
and spread. You never know where the branches are going to land.
I wonder about that, with our community, us as being Black Americans, because we have gone through a lot of trauma over the last 400 years. And some of us are just not learning our full history, if you will. People are going to probably get tired of me saying this, but like in my case, with my family, particularly on my maternal grandmother's side, she was Gullah Geechee and Black Indian. And people often tell me, well, what is Black Indian? But I'm like, research it. We were here before the Europeans, okay? And I put that out there because I don't want to take on what was done to my grandmother, who um lost her husband when she was age 50 in a farming accident. And then she had to raise 9 kids by herself on a farm. And she was a sharecropper. And then her kids, the older ones, particularly her older boys, wanted to leave as soon as they left high school. They didn't want to be on the farm any longer. And then she had to raise the girls, my two aunts and my mother. So she went through a lot. And she didn't often talk about what she went through, but she was in the church every Sunday. She was singing from that choir bench every Sunday. So, but I know that there was some trauma there that she never talked about. And one of those things that she never talked about with her grandkids, but with her children, was that one of her brothers in the 1940s, I believe, was found hanging from a tobacco barn.
Mm.
And they said that, of course, it was the KKK. And my mother and my oldest aunt said that she was always traumatized by that, by her one of her favorite brothers um, found dead hanging from a tobacco barn. So, with all that being said, and having heard those stories for years, that still is a little bit of trauma that is inherited within my own family.
How
Okay.
does it make you feel when
Uh,
you read about that?
you know, I I do feel angry still. And yes, I have friends from various backgrounds from around the world,
Mhm.
but when I partnered that with what's going on in this country politically, it makes me more angry because they don't know what was perpetrated against Black folks as a whole, let alone my family by itself. And we all had to work very hard to get to where we are, but we still remember how our grandmother was always quiet a lot of times. She didn't talk a lot. And I wonder, was she processing something from her past?
Mhm.
And I don't want that to go forward with my family or with the young ones, if you will.
Mhm.
So I I can't say if there's anything for me to forgive. I certainly can't forget because I think there's history that needs to be passed down. But at the same time, um, I think about the number of cancer cases that are within the family, if you will.
Right.
Okay. And I wonder if that stress, if you will, is a manifestation from not having healed
Unforgiveness.
or forgiveness, if you will. Yeah. Because
Forgiveness.
yeah.
Yeah. So I've read studies in the past where people who harbored unforgiveness
Hmm.
um, had some physical abnormal growths,
Mm,
which in turn um, produced other things in their bodies.
hmm.
I've read where there were people who were so mean, nasty, and hateful because of certain experiences, that those experiences drove them to heart attack and stroke.
Mm,
I've even seen cases where the unforgiveness drove them to drinking and the drinking drove them to dementia.
mm. I can see that.
So, we don't know what a person's mental, spiritual, or emotional bandwidth really is. And sometimes we don't even understand our own.
Yeah.
So, do I tell a person, stay there, keep that anger, stay mad? Or do I say, be healthy and whole?
Hmm.
Let's explore some ways that you can set boundaries
Yeah.
and still not be angry about it, resentful about it. Let's create some boundaries that would put you in a position to be the you that you were created to be.
Yeah.
Because every time we hold on to a violation, it takes a part of us.
Hmm.
We remove a good part of us to hold on to negativity.
Yes.
Whenever you don't forgive, you're holding on to something negative,
Hmm.
which means it sits in the way of something positive. Again, I will say, I'm not saying forget.
Yeah.
In no way am I saying forget, because some people can't afford to do that.
Yeah.
Some people are people pleasers. So
Yeah.
when they forget, they open the door to violation again.
Yeah.
No, do not forget. I want you to wholeheartedly remember so that when it comes around again in a different body, a different form, a
Mhm.
different person, a different place, in a different way, you'll be able to recognize it and identify it before it gets to you.
Yeah. So the trick then is to not forget, but forgive in a way that it heals yourself.
Yes, absolutely.
Which is not easy, as you were saying, because people still they
No,
hold on to. Sometimes you want to hold on to that.
listen to me.
Sometimes you want to like, oh, I just.
There are some days, and I know, can I be honest?
Hmm.
The being a being in two vocations, my
Hmm.
secular vocation, sons with an
Hmm.
S, and my spiritual vocation and calling,
Hmm.
it's extremely hard because some of the people that I have done the most for,
Hmm.
been the kindest to, nearly, if not laid my life almost on the line for, have been the very ones that have betrayed me.
Mm.
That really hurt me to the core. They were the ones that were envious. They were the ones that were jealous. They were the ones that tried to tear my business and ministries apart. They were the ones that wanted to gain allies through lies.
Mm. That's a big one, I believe.
Oh, God help me, Jesus. And that's been my coin. God help me, Jesus.
Let me
Because
ask.
I can't do this by myself.
Yeah, and I hear you, and I want to ask this question because, I was in corporate America for some years, and anyone who's worked in corporate America as a black man, black woman, you there's a certain, I don't know, how can I say it? You do have to be better than the person next to you, especially if that person is a white man. Okay, but I'm sure my experience is not unique in the sense that I saw white men being treated better, or I give you a real life example. When I was a business consultant for 7-Eleven corporate, I was a top performer. I was also very involved in the community, doing things that no one else was doing, starting new initiatives, if you will. And then I kind of find out that the boss, who was actually black, um, was giving the other guys 5 grand under the table.
How
And
did that?
oh, it still bothers me. Yeah, I still get upset sometimes because I still feel like he hindered my career, if you will.
Okay.
Yeah, because what I ended up doing was calling him out.
Mm-hmm.
And I made sure that his boss also was aware of that. And I struggled to forgiveness, and he wanted to try to utilize my skills still. And I was like, no. Um, but this was years ago. This was like, I don't
Mm-mm.
know, 15 years ago. So it was somewhat still um, bothersome. But of course, I ended up leaving, going to the government. And I made up for those losses over the years. But uh, it's just what everything you heard about corporate America uh, in the negative sense is true, and why. I left and I cannot go back to any organization that is, quote, corporate America, end quote.
Understood.
Yeah. So yeah, I still feel a certain way about it.
But okay, so let me ask you a question. The way in which you feel,
Hmm.
did it help you to become a better person?
It did. A much better person.
Yes. Did it help you to make better decisions?
It did, and it helped me to give back to other people, to look behind me and bring up others behind me, men, women, black, white, Latino. I helped them all.
So, what you're telling me is
Mhm.
that you took that experience, you learned from it,
Mhm.
you grew from it, and you gave back.
I did, and I still give back.
So, that experience is what you're saying to me
Hmm.
is an experience that puts you in a position to prosper.
I guess it has. I never thought about it in that way. Yeah, because
Because you were able to take that,
yeah,
and instead of focusing on the negative, you turned the negative into a positive.
I did, but I still have,
You are entitled to feel however you like,
yeah, okay, I
but the
agree.
energy behind it
Yeah.
propelled you.
Mhm.
It didn't cause deterioration. So, see, the thing is, it's not it's all about what you do with what you learn.
Yeah.
It can work for me and in my favor. It can take me to levels that I never thought I'd be before. It
Mhm.
can drive me into success, which I believe it did for you.
It did, but I know of other people, other friends of mine, men and women, particularly black men and women, who left corporate America. Some are still there, okay, and they are they're holding their mule. Let's say it
They're,
that way,
they're holding their mule because of what?
because they have a mortgage, they have a husband or a wife, they have children. They're doing what they have to do to
They
get
have
the process. Yeah,
they have a choice because we all have a mortgage.
yeah,
As long as you live, you're going to have bills,
that's
right?
true. Yeah,
And you made the choice to go in a different direction and become better. They make a choice to remain and be miserable.
yeah,
Forgiveness is about choice. Unforgiveness is about choice. Life is about choice.
yeah.
So I have the choice to use this situation to propel me, or I
Mhm.
have the choice to allow this situation to keep me restrained, contained, and miserable.
Mm,
Unforgiveness keeps me restrained, contained, and miserable.
mm.
It keeps me in a position where I wish I could do something about it.
Yeah,
Where forgiveness says, I'm going to do something about it. The first thing I'm going to do is set boundaries. You
yeah.
see, I understand that word, right?
Yep. So yeah, that's
Boundaries.
that boundaries. So that is something I got to repeat that. Yeah, boundaries, 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 boundaries. You said,
Correct, which is something that we have as a culture
yeah,
been trained not to set. Sometimes people can't get out of that mechanical mindset.
mm,
But
yeah,
there are those of us who have been called to be reformers
mhm, yeah,
that bring transformation, who have been equipped with a brain to say, oh no, this ain't right.
yeah,
Let's go ahead and change the narrative. Let's change the trajectory on this, right?
yeah,
And it may and unfortunately it may be their plight to remain where they are. I applaud you for being able to take that. But for me and my house,
yeah.
we're going in the other direction, in another direction. For whomever will listen to me and willing to go to the next level with
Mhm,
me, I'm going to take them because I'm not going to allow on my watch those who are connected to me to stay in
mhm,
that.
mm. Well, preach. And well, you did, but yeah, preach.
That's what you just told. You did
Yeah.
it.
Well,
That's
I
okay.
never looked at it that way. I I'm one who likes to just stay in the present, and so I'm not always thinking about this or that. But again, once in a while,
I
that
believe you subconsciously live in the future.
yeah.
I do. This is how I know you have aspirations. This is how I know you care about people. This is how I know you go looking and digging for answers. This conversation
Yeah,
is a dig, is a
it is.
right,
Yeah.
and in so many respects.
But I want it for all of it. I want it for more of us. I want more of us, particularly the millennials who are young Black and entrepreneurs who are going into corporate or going to government. I want the Gen Z young Black boys and girls. I want them to get this early in life versus later in life, like I
Why?
did. I don't know. I just feel like I want life to be easier for them. I want my nieces and nephews to have an easier life than I did.
Oh, okay. And so is the more that you speak of present or future?
Both. I know it's hard. I mean, they can't. I mean, right now they're young. They're 7, 8, and 11, and 16. But I guess I want them to not worry as much as I had to worry.
But
When I
as
was,
kids, they're not going to worry. But as they move into adolescence and
yeah,
adulthood, they will. So it's really future
it is future. You're right. I guess for me, it's present because I'm thinking about it constantly.
right now.
Yeah, about their
I,
future. Like I want to make sure that they're taken care of, that they get what they need and deserve, if not more. Okay.
and so what you're doing is you're laying the foundation so that they'll have something to guide them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. And I want forgiveness. Well, initially, I guess I thought in the beginning of this conversation, not forgiveness, and to be part of that, but forgiveness is that's where to go.
Babies, I want you to forgive. I want you to let go
Yeah.
of anything that keeps you in a negative space, that
Yeah.
steals your energy, that steals your creative thought, your
Mhm.
creative process, your prosperity. But I also want you to remember certain experiences so that you'll know that it is very healthy to set boundaries.
So then, how do we get this to the rest of the Black community then?
Well, you're taking the first step by using your outlet to spread the word, right? And then you talked about your nieces and your nephews and those generations that are to come.
Yeah.
You talked about paying it forward. Our everyday lifestyle is an example of what should be done and what shouldn't be done.
Yeah.
And we have a choice in what lesson we're going to teach every day,
Yeah.
right? I have a choice in the lesson that I'm going to teach when I go through certain experiences and people are watching me. I
Yeah.
use my platform and my influence to project positivity,
Yeah.
stability, reliability, and boundaries.
There's that word again, boundaries.
And do you know why I say this? The
Uh,
reason why I stress boundaries is because there was a time in my life where I had none. I was the people pleaser.
yeah.
I was never a yes woman or yes man, but I was definitely a people pleaser. I didn't want people to be mad at me. I
Mm.
might go off. I might tell you off. I might tell you about yourself. I might tell you, hell no, I'm not
Mhm.
doing that. And then be like, oh my God, I need to go back and do it.
Yeah.
Right. But now, because I've gone through some things in my life
hmm
and I've become more mature, I've learned that you can't say yes to everything,
Yes. Amen to
that you can't let everybody into your space because some people come into your space to zap your energy,
mm.
to take from you and never pour into you. There's some people who come into your space to do what? To destroy your character because they're envious and jealous of you. So I have to protect my peace, protect my space, and protect everything that is valuable to me.
And the way to do that is by boundaries.
Boundaries. I'm never going to forget because God didn't create me that way. He created this brain so good.
Mhm.
This thing is like a Sony FX camera.
Yeah.
It stays rolling, right? however, however,
Mm.
there are some movies that go into archive, and that there are others that they constantly replay because they don't want you to forget it,
Yeah.
right? There are some people who still get paid off of royalties from things that they've done God knows how many years ago.
Hmm.
Why? Because what they got is still hot. And the thing is, there's some memories that we have to have. We have to keep them hot so we won't keep getting burned by them,
Mm.
right? But then there's some things that need to go in the archive because they don't suit us anymore.
Yeah.
We've learned, we've conquered, and now we move on.
Dr. Michaels, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Offshoot Podcast. Tell folks, how can they reach out to you or get a hold of you?
So you can reach out to me via all social media platforms at Dr. Yve Michaels. I want to correct something. I am the owner and founder of Evolution Media Group, and I am in partnership with Gold Strand
Okay.
Media Film Production Company. Reach out to us. Come on, www.goldstrand.com, or you can call me. Call my phone. Check out my social media, or call dreve.com. I love y'all. Thank you so much. This was everything.
It was. And thank you. And
Everything.
everyone, please like and subscribe to this channel. You can find us on YouTube. You can find us on Spotify or anywhere where you get your podcasts. Dr. Michaels, again, thank you.
Thank you. You're the best.
I don't profess to have the answers.